Gabe Padilla, my understanding is you have the first platform of its kind on the planet.
The future of selling online is no longer going to be cold outbound. It'll be warm inbound because of the community and the trust you've built.
Your genuine energy towards helping people has opened a lot of doors for you.
As soon as you see yourself as too big to do the little things is the exact moment that you become too little to ever accomplish the big things. From modeling to creators to agency to founder. This has always kind of been an end game for me.
Life is a pitch. It's simply that. It is a pitch, and it is fun. Let's make sure that you're being sold what you want and you're selling what you actually want to sell. I really just love selling. It's the easiest thing on the planet if you believe in yourself. Let's buckle up. By the way, my name's JL. This is Sell Anything.
Gabe Padilla, welcome to the show, my man.
It's great to be here.
You have worked with some of the biggest names in information products, like from Andy Elliott to Dean Graziosi to Jeremy Minor, Pace Morby, some people who have created some massive movements online. And you have, for them and many others, generated well over $30 million without any paid ads. How on earth did you do that?
It's a great question. Primary focus has been how we can use the organic content as a jumping off point to get people to start conversations, whether with their sales team and whoever manages their socials. And so we've used DMs as a way to convert directly from content, but first starting out with giving value. And I actually learned that from Pace. Originally, when I was working with these, personal brands, they would say, comment Airbnb on their post, and then they would, come in and they would try to sell them their Airbnb offer or whatever. When I came into working with Pace, we went to set up this booking funnel, this chat bot that I used to build. And his team was like, no, we don't sell on the front end at all. And I was like, well, yeah, what do we do? Like, what are we going to do? I was on a rev share too. I'm like, what are we going to do,
Yeah.
And, and it was a big question. And they're like, no, we just give value and then people come to us to work with us. And so I was like, okay. And so when we did with Pace, for example, and he has just so much value to give, so many freebies, lead magnets, whatever, but really just that was the ethos of the organization, was, giving one of the things we gave that worked super well was like, for example, a creative real estate investing dictionary of like comment jargon and we'll DM you this. And people would come in, hey, here's the thing. By the way, like, where are you at in your real estate investing journey? They would share, feel very open. They just got value. They're like, okay, this is super helpful. So this is great. I'm definitely going to continue commenting and engaging. So you get more leads, more engagement up, which obviously leads to more revenue. Not selling, but guiding and giving value. And what we saw with Pace was a lot more comments, way more engagement, way more people coming into the inbox to have those conversations. And when people came in previously, if they commented Airbnb, they came in, they either bought or they didn't buy, they would never come back into the inbox ever again, that there would never be a further conversation. There was one person in particular that really shifted my mindset and allowed our agency to grow so quickly when I put in this new offer. Was some guy said like, hey, they came in, got the free thing. The setter in the inbox asked questions, and then they said, like, hey, would it be helpful to hop on a call? And the guy was like, no, I just bought this other guy's program right now, so I'm good. But like, thanks for the freebie, and cool. And then over like the coming weeks, like they would comment a couple times. The same person kept coming in, and then a few weeks later, the whoever was managing the inbox for Pace at the time, so like, yeah, how's everything going with that other thing? And they're like, honestly, I've gotten more value out of all the free stuff I've gotten these past weeks, or maybe it was a month, than the entirety of that paid program that I did. So like, let's hop on that call. I want to see what you can do because it's so much better.
Wild.
So that simple shift of just give value first.
Yeah.
And don't pressure to the sale. Continue the consultative, journey throughout. It's more leads, more engagement, grows your page, and your leads are even warmer. They're more likely because they already trust you because you've already helped them get from point A to point B.
Great answer. I like it. That is so exciting. And so the fun thing is all of those guys are in like the self-development space. Andy, Jeremy, both in the space of selling, which is the idea behind Sell Anything, right? Like the cool thing is I've done some of Andy's trainings. I've done some of Jeremy's trainings. Funny thing is I got introduced to Jeremy via text yesterday.
Oh, wow. He's a great guy.
And we've been texting back and forth, and at the time of this recording, he's doing his Sales Mastery Summit or here in Phoenix. So kind of cool. Small world.
Yeah,
dude.
very topical.
Yeah, small world.
Absolutely.
So now that we know what your platform is, tell us the name of it one more time.
Ellipsend.
Ellipsend.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Why Ellipsend? Because everybody's got a story,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Let's hear it.
I guess I'll say originally it was called Vibrant, and the whole concept was a vibrant display of data, and you could have a full understanding end to end. Because with organic content, typically whether you're on the creative side or you're on like the executive C-suite, CMO, or director level, you kind of have no idea how the organic is moving the needle. And so it was meant to be a vibrant display of content of data rather, that you can see. Not only it's like a lot of data, but it actually is deep and it has meaning. And so found out that the name Vibrant was trademarked. And but to be honest,
back to the drawing board.
Yeah, back to the drawing board. So we went through a lot of different iterations. And then, really landed on Ellipsend. And the reason why it's called Ellipsend, if you look at the logo, it's, chat bubble with 3 dots, which is the ellipsis, which means someone is texting or someone is messaging you. So it's meant to show ongoing conversation.
Right.
Then obviously send. And so that's the whole concept of Ellipsend, where we differentiate is we're trying to create communication and connection, ongoing connection between brands, consumers, creators, and their audiences.
Ah, dude, genius idea.
Thank you.
Genius idea. And clearly you got some big people on the platform, so it's working. It does its thing. Because my observation of people who are succeeding at a high level, they typically only use the things that work. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's a very cool. So how long have you guys been in business?
If you look at our corporation date, you'll see February. So, a lot of people with software, and this was a huge learning experience for me. With having an agency, you can kind of be like, hey, we're going to do this on Monday. You have that realization. And on Wednesday, maybe Friday at the latest, you're like, you have a whole new offer, you have new service, whatever. What I found with software is it takes a lot of time. And especially, you kind of have 2 options. You can go the white label SaaS route, which is, you can get a quick MVP, maybe validate the market. Or you can do what we did, which was like, absolutely build everything from scratch, hosted on Amazon, web services, everything. So we launched in June, and that was our terrible version 1, but actually launched and started taking real paying customers in September. So we're about 7 months in now.
Wild. Okay. So now here's where we're going to get into the questions that typically we're going to go deep fast. So in order to take on a venture like that, to do something like that, requires quite the man or woman or that's an endeavor, dude.
Yeah.
So who are you? Who built you into the Gabe that's like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to build something from scratch, and I'm going to take it to the marketplace, and I'm going to actually do really well at it. Tell us about you.
Man, that's a great question. This is a really good, introspective opportunity. I would just say I've my grandparents came from Cuba. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad always said, you could do anything you want as long as you work for it. And
yes,
I think that was always my mindset. I whenever I wanted anything, I remember I really wanted Sims 2, the game, growing up, and I just woke up one morning and I want that. And my dad was like, "That's so cool. How are you going to afford it?" I'm like, "Oh man, how can I do this?" And ended up starting a lawn care business that day, just enough so that I could buy the game and whatnot. So I think over time, from being very young, the first lemonade stand when I was 8, and more aggressive ventures, I think led to being able to shut down the agency that was doing very, very well to launch Ellipsend, and at this point still not taking a salary, because I just knew that there's ups and downs, but it's always gonna kind of work out. So at a high level, I'd say that's kind of what led to being able to do that.
Wild, dude. So from a very early age then, you were just it was instilled from your parents, okay, if you want something, you can work for it. Now here's the cool thing, innately by just who you are, you can go get whatever you want, but that work element is a part of the equation.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing.
Definitely. And I think just, I was talking to a friend who left his job to start focusing on a business, and it just kind of being terrified I was talking with him yesterday, going for a walk, and just terrified about financial insecurity, and just realizing that it kind of, whether, you're not set for the next 10 years, you have to figure something out, or whatever, it's 10 days. I've kind of gotten accustomed to it just by going through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're if I can just get through today.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we're going to keep going.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, when we were young, we went to Mexico, and my very old, very Cuban grandfather, was on his computer, and the Bluetooth computer mouses had just come out. And so we plugged it in, and we were like on the other side of the room, and he was we were messing around with it, and he started freaking out thinking it was hacked. And it's like, oh no, anything could happen in a day. Anything could happen in a day. I might get hacked. And we just realized that like, it was very funny, but it's really dumb, but it's kind of stuck with me in life, is that like literally that moment of anything can happen in a day. You're like, terrible things can happen in a day, but also, some really amazing things can happen in a day that can kind of really just reroute your life in a way you didn't expect.
Dude, I agree with that 100%. The fun thing is any conversation is an opportunity to create the outcome.
Yeah.
Any interaction is an opportunity to make something better or worse. It all comes down, in my opinion, to the intention behind, well, where are we going? What's the actual goal? What do we want out of this? So which leads me to my next question. With Ellipsend, where are we going? Like, what's the goal of Ellipsend? 5 years from now, where do you see yourself with Ellipsend? What are we doing?
It's a great question. My CTO especially has taught me not to put time horizons on things, especially when promising like
software.
features. Which is one of the things, because I just want our customers to be happy. So it's kind of hard. I'm trying to train myself not to think of those specific time horizons. As far as like when the milestones will be unlocked, but the future, the end game, right, for Ellipsend is I look at it as like the way people are starting to connect, whether business to business or business to consumer. At this point, we found like, consumer to consumer is through social media, of course. Like that's how it happens now.
Right.
And businesses are realizing too that, cold emails don't work anymore.
Okay.
Paid ads are getting more and more expensive. And there's people doing phenomenally well, but it's getting a lot harder too, right?
It's pricey, yeah.
And I don't know about you, but especially now as a founder, that I'm listed as a founder, I get so many cold emails that if I get one, I just like, I blacklist that company even mentally. And the future of selling online is no longer going to be cold outbound. It'll be warm inbound because of the community and the trust you've built. And so that's what we want Ellipsend to be, is like, you look at Uber and it's like, oh, this incredible, amazing thing. And, it started out as Uber cab. And it was that, depending on whose story you believe, like the guy, Gareth Camp wanted to, he realized he had exited a company. He was in SF and he was like, I'm doing well financially and I still have this problem that I got to wait for cabs. This is dumb. And it's become this thing, from Uber cab to Uber, that connected the world, and people are so much more connected offline. And so that's where I see with Ellipsend is being able to connect businesses with their consumers, so they can have insights into, sentiment analysis and everything like that, understanding at scale all of those, very nuanced and very like quick touch social interactions and DMs and whatnot, aggregating communication between businesses and consumers. And then as an example too, I mean, like Jeremy, phenomenal sales trainer, right? People would pay so much to have, and people do pay so much to have like one-on-one with him. Right. And the ability that AI is going to be able to capture all of the information that he has, that potentially someone who's learning sales could talk with Jeremy AI and is granularly as, hey, I just got this text. What should I answer this text? Or I need to follow up with this person. And like literally, this is what you should say, and this is why. And he's teaching the NEPQ and all of that stuff as well. So, just using AI to create a more human connection. Right. And it sounds kind of crazy, but just in service to your audience, instead of like automate all your interactions, it's like give 24/7 customer service or attention to people and helping them improve their lives,
Dude, that doesn't sound funny at all. That sounds the way. I think that's selling. Really, I believe, in my opinion, is a service business. It is. Yep. You're not there like automating, scaling, all that stuff is a part of business, and that's how we grow, and it's a really good thing. But that human element of being able to serve somebody to get the goal that they actually want is the essence of selling. Like, if using Jeremy's example, okay, cool. So I can interact using technology to teach them in real time, around the clock, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, because of the technology that's available to me, is super powerful. But again, going back to that idea of the intention behind everything, if the intention is I'm doing this from a place that I'm providing a service, just utilizing the resources available to me, That's what's going to make the world go forward faster and really exciting.
Yep.
Super exciting.
And along, I mean, I would say what really led to that kind of conclusion, and this is a totally selfish and kind of dumb example, but I travel a lot. And especially when you're, you know, same for you, I'm sure, when you have a business, when you're a founder, a lot of times travel can change or plans can change. And I remember I was in San Francisco. I needed to change my flight another day because I was going to go to this party where there's going to be some investors and some really solid people in Silicon Valley. And I was trying to change the flight, and like I called United and was waiting on hold, eventually got to them, and then had to explain the whole situation. They had no idea who I was and had to give all the everything. You know, they should have a little dashboard, but I don't know. And then they're like, oh yeah, you know, this is the wrong department. Let me connect you to the other department, wait on hold, and then literally explain all over again. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be so much cooler? How many human hours are wasted doing this? Where if instead of calling United, I could just DM them or even text them and say, hey, I want to change my flight. And it's not, okay, give your phone number, you're this, you're that, the other mother's maiden, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, of course, there'd be security protocols, but it's like, they go, oh, awesome, JL, how's it going? Cool. Are you talking about your flight tomorrow? Oh, great, cool. Yeah, well, these are the ones available. By the way, oh, you want that flight? Well, I know you wanted a window seat on your first flight that wasn't available. This is available now. And like that efficiency that can be driven and save so much time and at every business and every small business, it'll really democratize. You know, larger businesses are able to afford that, but like a scone shop, kid couldn't really afford stuff like that. But as it gets more
cinnamon
affordable,
sugar last time. Do you want it again this time?
And that's the concept. It's like when you go to a scone shop and you meet the owner, and they're like, "Oh, I've never seen you before. What's your name?" Okay, JL, awesome. You should try this Earl Grey tea scone, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next time you come in, how was it? Awesome. You didn't like, okay, well, maybe you'd like this one. And it's like that. It's almost like you get that from the small businesses.
Right.
And then you get that when you walk into like Prada, Louis Vuitton, like you get the concierge kind of experience. And it's like somewhere in the middle, you lose the ability to do that. And you only, you know, it's only, I guess the ROI is positive for the larger luxury brands if you're in person. But it would just be really cool to have a holistic, you know, communication, whether it's text, email, voice AI is really blown up. You know, or DMs, and you're just able to connect with businesses and have a personal experience, you know.
So is that on the roadmap of Ellipsend?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. Yes.
Dude, I'm like, well, let's not do the podcast. Show me the thing. I want to see it. But that is incredible. So here's my first question. This is actually my third question now, but how did the agency start? So did you start the agency? Was there a goal like the Sims game when you started the agency that led to Ellipsend? Like, what's the driving force behind Gabe that like you just keep moving from here's a pit that I'm finding myself and I want something up on this peak and I'm going to this peak? What you keep growing, dude. What's the driving force? You got like a list of a ton of travel places you want to go? Like, what's your driving force?
Been traveling a lot. It's been good. I'd say travel has been good. I don't know. I just enjoy it. I just enjoy the challenge. And I think I have a chip on my shoulder, you know, just from growing up and you're a middle child when you're like your parents maybe are not as well off as your friends' parents and, you know, just some natural stuff there. But I just enjoy it. I really enjoy like tinkering, kind of like just trying new things. You know, again, I moved to LA, believe it or not, for modeling out of high school. And I was
really,
there's nuance here. There's a
Tell me more.
That was how like I right after I finished high school, I moved from modeling to LA, and I was doing that for a little while. And there was a gig that I had usually booked, and I didn't get it, and I knew the casting director, and I said like, hey man, what happened here? You know, because when models nowadays, I can't speak for right now, but like in 2016, did not make nearly as much as they used to. So you need those recurring. Okay. It used to be if you're like, I connected with some models I used to model for like Armani and whatnot back in the day. They would fly you out to the Bahamas. They would, you know, give you so much money, like especially male models. There was like nothing. But once Instagram came and kind of everybody started becoming a model kind of thing. You're now flying to a warehouse in Ohio, you know, and e-com and making 800 a day.
And they're like, here's the blue screen.
Yeah, exactly. Blue would have been nice. Yeah, it's white. But and so he said like, yeah, you know, the other guy had more followers than you. And I was like, oh man, that was weird. And so I talked to my agent, like, you wouldn't believe what he said. And he's like, dude, that's the way the world's
landscape
moving
now.
You know, and this was like 2015. So this was before like influencers, especially the term creators. Like Jay Alvarez started coming up soon after. And so like, dude, he basically said like, either figure out this social media game or like find something else. And
Okay.
I was like, oh man. So I figured out like, okay, how can it was very different back then. Growth on Instagram was very, very different from the content, engine. It was more like, for example, as a model, you would, the way the algorithm worked is like, if you had 10,000 followers, you posted 10,000 people would see it. It was great. It was really cool. It was like chronological. And so if you were a model, and this is what we did as models, you would always like tag 30 like male models daily or top male models or whatever.
Okay.
And you drag them all to the corner and stack them. So like, you try to be
I remember those
sneaky.
days where there's just like hashtag.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. And then just hope they repost you. And there'd be one that like with 50K, 100K, 200K followers that would repost you and you'd get like 8K followers. Or like your buddy who's got a lot of followers, you're like, let's take a photo together, And you would, and engagement groups like were a big thing. And so, got really good at that for myself. And then my friends who were actors, models, musicians, whatever, or asked me to help them. And then, I helped them. They're like, yeah, just give me gas money or buy me lunch. And then their friends started asking. And then suddenly had like a social media management agency before it was cool when I was like, I guess like 20, 19 maybe.
Really?
Balancing that with being a creator myself, because I ended up realizing that like modeling sucks, man. There's a lot of not fun stuff that happens in modeling.
Yeah.
And with a creator, like you can do so much. Like my first paid gig was like Hugo Boss. They sent me fragrance and just post some content. And back then it seemed like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I was on the creator side, and then now kind of skipping ahead, did that for a while. Really good for like millions of followers to the clients I had, but really struggled with taking, and this is a common issue for creators, that you have your audience.
Okay.
And maybe you have a business, you want to start a business.
Okay.
But it's the cross-pollination or podcast, I'm sure, and you've been doing great with that, but that is a common issue. How do you get your audience? You don't own your audience. How do you get them from point A to point B to your business? For me, was from my social. And I was like, this is hard. So I kind of said, you know what? Brand deals aren't enough.
Yeah.
I've always been very entrepreneurial. I'm just going to focus on, the business, and kind of stepped away from the creator world. And then did drop shipping, did pretty well, like the e-com. It was white labeling, so it was a step above. Yeah. And got really good at like converting through DMs. We did like 7 figures our first year.
Really?
No Facebook ads, no emails, just DMs.
Dude, way to go, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And then, then connected with somebody in like the info product space who was he kept getting blocks. He had too many people logged into his Instagram. And I was like, oh, dude, I had that same issue with my e-com brands. This is how we did it. Yeah. And he was like, turns out he's like a 22-year-old making like $500K a month. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And he wanted to hire me, and then he did. And then turns out he had all these clients in his mastermind, and then suddenly became one of the top ManyChat agencies in the world.
Holy cow, man. So you just see opportunity, capitalize on it. Opportunity, capitalize on it. Like that's kind of seems to be the theme.
Yeah, and I think I've just gotten better at saying no to or like my like radar has gotten a little better. Okay. But yeah, it's I think I tell my younger brothers, they're twins, and I'm just like, you can't afford to say no to anything right now. You gotta calibrate what's good, and you can't if you're taking on a conventional path, unless you really know exactly what you want to do, you got to be kind of open. And that's what it was for me, is from modeling to creator, social media management, to agency, to founder. And this has always kind of been end game though for me, the founder stuff.
That's cool, man. Yeah. That's and I don't know, and I maybe should, but can I ask how old you are?
I'm 28.
Young pup, dude.
Yeah. How old are you?
40. How old am I? I'm 41.
Looking good, man.
Thanks.
Take care of yourself.
Oh yeah. Thanks, man. No, I'm 41. Now, married? Not married?
I have a girlfriend, yeah.
Okay,
We've been together for like 9 years, so.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty serious, I'd say.
Okay, there you go. And then, that is pretty serious. 9 years is a long time.
Yeah. I think that's a secret sauce too, is if you check off that box with someone you enjoy being with, then it saves a lot of mental space.
100%. Because then you still play the game, because you still got to treat her right. You still got to love her. You still got to date her. You still got to do all those things. But it's not like you don't have to go out and find her.
I'd say it's less ups and I met her when I was like 19. So like
on the model scene.
I was on I was with one of my modeling friends walking at Runyon Canyon, which all models do, and then was walking back. She was with her friend who was modeling, and so kind of just right place, right time. Okay, but due to the modeling.
Way to go! Yeah. All right, dude, I am really in awe of your story. That's 28. You got a lot of influence, doing a really good job. Like, influencing your younger brothers how to do their game because you've walked the path already. Like this is cool, man. This is exciting. So one question that I really like to ask is, because the idea behind all of the podcasts is we just want to make the world a better place, right? We want to empower people to go out and pursue who they want to be and do what they want to do. And because the whole tagline of the podcast is life's a pitch, dude. It really is. Like, if you know how to sell and you know how to communicate, you can have anything you want. Like Zig Ziglar once said, he's like, you can have anything in the world you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And that seems to be exactly what you've done of, well, I had this problem on social media, but then I figured it out. Oh, now this guy wants me to help him, and this guy wants me to help him. And all of a sudden there's a mastermind of people. They all want your help. Then you've got the biggest agency. And then all of a sudden now you're a founder, because that was the goal anyway. Like, super cool, all on the back of just being willing and open to help other people. So what would be the advice? This is the big question. What would be the advice to the younger generation or to somebody who is wanting to keep moving forward that you would give?
How long we got?
We got time, dude. We got time.
As you know, I'm a yapper. So
here's how we'll maybe condense it into in. If you could give 2 pieces of advice.
I like that. That's good.
The first one and then the second one. And they don't have to be in order of importance. But 2 things.
I'd say one of the biggest ones is you don't need to know what you're going to do. Just kind of know what you want your life to be like and start from there. Is the biggest thing. Is for me, like my girl's from Finland.
Okay.
And
beautiful place. Finland is great.
And beautiful girls too, let me tell you.
Especially
the one.
Clearly. Well played.
There we go. I've always loved traveling, and we needed the flexibility. And there's times where, like, even now, it's like, okay, I've lost some of the flexibility now having the business, but then you learn to sacrifice. But it was like, I always knew that I wanted to be financially successful, secure more than anything, and that's how I define success. And also have the freedom and flexibility to, like, I have ADHD. And I've had ADHD since I was a kid. And one of the things with ADHD, that, for me specifically, is that you go through almost like micro seasons where, like, 3 weeks of, like, boom, 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 working 16 hours a day, or, that was when I was younger, really hard to do now.
Yeah.
Very, very unstable. But then there might be like a 3 or 4 day period where you're kind of like, I need to kind of like, okay, decompress, and I'm not going to be as effective as I'd like to be. And maybe those numbers aren't the exact numbers. And if you're working a traditional job or something like that, you can work your ass off, I guess I can say that on the show, right? Good. For 16 days, and then that becomes the new normal. And then it's like, if you ever fall beneath that, it's like you're not doing great by doing your best. It's like that's normal. And then if you have, I just wanted to be able to do things on my own terms, and be as effective as I wanted to be, and have it mean something. Okay. And then if I want to travel, or I need a few days or whatever, then I'm in control of that. Okay. So I kind of defined, whether from a financial level, from a time freedom level, from a flexibility level, what I wanted to do. And so everything that I've done has fallen into that. And as I've found certain things that begin, for example, e-com at one point stopped falling into that. And I'm like, okay, now it's a time to transition. And I found another opportunity. And that's how I then, so I'd say, don't worry about what you want to do, just what you want your life to be like, and have that be your North Star is probably.
That's great, man. Okay, that's number 1. Yeah. You have to do another one now. Sure. But that's a really good one, dude. That's a really, really good one. So, do you have the other one on the tip of your tongue?
I don't. I think that's I'm going to leave with that.
Dude, that is a good one. So, there's William Lamb. He was on this podcast, one of the first ones that came on. He has a company called Upgrade. What he does is he takes people and he says, hey, I need a list of 100 things that you want. And then I also need a list of 100 experiences that you want to have. And so what that does is exactly hand in hand with what you're saying. I don't know what you're going to do to get them, but I need to know what you want. And the cool thing with the way your mind works is your mind's like, okay, if I know what I want, then the opportunities, the people,
they'll fill in,
Yep, all of the how and all that stuff takes care of itself if the what is clear enough. If the vision is clear enough of what I want, the how, all of that is there. And then the other part, we had another guest that he said, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough, right? So if the what is there and the why is there, and those two are on point, the how will just take care of itself. Yeah. You just got to be open and flexible to figure it out. And I think that's so powerful, man.
I guess I'll it did make me think of another thing that's
Good.
relevant.
That was the hope of that little tangent.
It worked, and it was really good. I think
Good.
it was very valuable. But this one could be succinct. The concept of like, I forget. I was in like a pyramid scheme when I was in high school, and so that exposed me to a lot of like really interesting business practices, but also like learned a lot of unique things. And one of the things I remember someone said was like, the moment you start to be too big for the little things is, the moment you're going to always stay too little to ever achieve the big things. I think that's one big thing that I've...
Say that one more time. That was deep.
Yeah.
One more time.
Paraphrasing.
Okay.
But I'm going to coin this new way of saying it. The moment that you become too big to do the little things is the same moment that you are too little to ever accomplish the big things. And I think that's the important thing is I've told, like, dude, when I moved to LA, I was staying in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 other people. I was sleeping on the couch. They were musicians, and so they had parties all the time. I was an extra on Pretty Little Liars, and I ended up getting mono.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting a scratch on my cornea at the same time, and just kind of like, it was just so miserable.
Yeah.
But it was like, I wasn't going to go home because of it. Because it was like, sometimes you just got to deal with this terrible stuff. Sometimes you have to sleep on the couch. My first like job was, I worked at Guess, and that was terrible. So that one I was too big for. It was terrible. But I was working this catering company at this Mexican restaurant called El Cholo. And like straight up, we would go into the kitchen. We would help kind of make the food a little bit, pack it up, drive a van to whatever venue, wedding or whatever it was, unload the van, tons of food, tables, chairs, everything. Serve the food all day, then load it back in, bring it back, and it was just this terrible thing. But it was like, I got to do this because I gotta figure it out. And then that led to like getting into more, catering gigs and eventually like working at the Oscars and doing like events. Like I was
wild, man.
Yeah, it was like Elton John's Oscar party, and I took care of like Steven Tyler and Gordon Ramsay and Tommy Hilfiger, and it was like, I ended up actually managing. That was another thing I did. Never say no. This is big. So I did catering. You'd make like 20 an hour.
Yeah.
And then eventually became like a captain, like 30 an hour. And then I was talking with one of the people that actually ran it, and she basically just kind of told me like, that you're getting paid like 20, 30 an hour. It's like, yeah. Like, the guy that staffs you is getting paid a $50 an hour per person, and he has 3 events with us today. And so because I had like just worked, even though it was like catering and I was going to be the successful model, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, I'm going to do catering the best I can. I built a good relationship, and then it became a thing where they're like, hey, he dropped the ball. Do you have anybody? And just like, yep, I have people. And I started GP Staffing Company, LLC, and boom, and ended up this staffing.
Gabe, I love it, dude. That's so cool. So, okay, that one's really good. That one's super powerful. So let me just make sure that I understand what you said.
I hope you can teach me how to say it.
I like it a lot. So the moment you become too big to do the little things is the moment you become too little to do the big things. That's not what you said.
It was to that effect.
But yours
to
was
accomplish what I would say is like,
okay, go ahead.
As soon as you see yourself as too big to do the little things is the exact moment that you become too little to ever accomplish the big things. Because you have to go through the little things first to ever be capable of accomplishing the big things.
That one landed. That should be a book. That one should be a book.
There we go. Take it. Watch the actual like quote be like the simplest version, or I just completely misunderstood it.
No, dude. But that actually makes a ton of sense. Okay, so here's the next question, which is relevant to the entire beginning part of the podcast. The idea of Ellipsend, the entire thing is we're taking organic content and we're being able to put an ROI on it. Now, there's a whole range of an audience that listen to this show from teenage years into their late 50s. Now, here's kind of a fun fact from a previous episode. Dude started his business essentially when he was like 16 years old. He's in his mid-20s now. Who was just here? Braven. You just saw Braven, right?
Great guy.
Young, dude, and is crushing it, having a super good game. Last night, I actually learned that Grant Cardone didn't actually buy his first property until he was 52. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
I had no idea. And then obviously people have heard the story about Ray Kroc, where McDonald's started in his 50s. Betty White, dude. Yeah. Colonel Sanders, all these, you know who Colonel Sanders is? Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Of course I know Colonel.
Dude, I don't know.
Come on now.
You're a young buck, man. You're in your
Come on
20s. You're in your 20s.
It's a good question. It is a fair question.
Yeah. So all these people start late in the game and they get going. But then you've got dudes like Braven, like you, that are just, they start early and they're crushing it. So my point is, or my question is, whether you're in your teens or you're in your 50s or 60s, if you don't have organic content that you can actually start to make an ROI to, what being in the game you've been in, how does someone create a following online? How does someone start their own personal brand online? Where would you start there?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a few different variables to it. If you have existing knowledge, specialized knowledge in a niche, and it really doesn't matter how niche it is, because it used to be like, oh, you need to really paint you have to have a broad audience to be able to get numbers, right? But now that, with a global audience, even like underwater basket weaving probably has a huge cult following.
Should we get experts in that?
Yeah, they could. The next week, man. And so I would say on that side of things like something you're good at, but it has to be something you're passionate about.
Okay.
One thing I learned as a creator was I am not a person who's excessively passionate about fashion.
I'm going to be a model.
Yeah, well, model, I'll take photos, I guess, but a fashion influencer,
Gotcha.
whatever, men's fashion.
Yeah.
It was like, I found that like, it was like, I was trying and you burn out because you're like, I don't even enjoy doing this. I found for me, I'm like, I do like nice clothes. We were talking about aloe, I think like, it's good.
Comfy,
accessible,
not synthetic, but comfy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was like, what do I actually enjoy, and my version of it too. And what that becomes, you find what you like, you find what you're good at, you find something that you actually enjoy creating content around, you're interested in. It can be trends, it can be AI trends. A lot of people if you're interested in AI,
now's
literally
the time.
set up a RSS feed where you get all the AI news and post about it, talking head videos before anyone else does. And there you go. It's really easy. You're very lucky if that's something you want to pursue your personal brand in. But building out content pillars, is like, it's not about, before it used to be like, you are a travel blogger. And it's like, wow, this is the best travel blogger. And you're trying to be the best travel, influencer, whatever. But there's so many, everybody's doing that nowadays. And so what I've found is the little nuances of, like, for me, it was, even in my media kit, I remember I would say like, Gabriel brings accessible luxury to, or it was like related. It was like, it was something of, I guess I don't remember it that well. It was something like, nothing, that guys want to look nice, but they don't want to like
break the bank.
7 layers and it's like, and it definitely, like, it could be different budgets and whatnot. And so that's the nuance is like, okay, that's why I want to follow this person. I like, because other people who like one aspect of your content pillar or your one content pillar of your entire personal brand, are more likely to resonate and be open to listening. It's not like monotone, right? It's like stereo audio versus mono. Having multiple dynamic and depth to a page. So I would say that finding stuff that you're good at that you can talk about, finding stuff that's somewhat trending like AI would be great, and then most importantly, finding something that you actually like that you can post content about, and then just post as much shitty content as you can.
Okay.
And if you look at it, and that's what we're trying to create with Ellipsend, is that Ellipsend will look and see like, hey, users fell off, or, viewers fell off in the first 3 seconds on this one, but on this one it was 10 seconds. Maybe the hook was this, and trying to recommend that.
Gotcha.
But you can for now do that kind of manually, which is, posting as much as you can, do as best as you can, but don't worry about being perfect, and then just try to find the commonalities, what's working. And what I've heard all the time is that, it's usually the content that you think that it took you 5 minutes to record and you think it's going to do terrible ends up being the one that pops off. And the stuff that is like you work for hours or days on, typically they don't.
Just bang.
Yeah. So you just gotta warm up the muscle.
Okay. Well, now here's a super direct question, because we already dropped names in the beginning. So Andy Elliott, right?
Yeah.
He's got his own personal brand for sure.
Yeah.
Have you seen like the evolution of like, oh, that's when it started to hit, when all of a sudden he started making sales dudes take their shirts off, or like where did it start to hit for him, out of curiosity?
That's, I started working with Andy last summer. So like I was very familiar with his brand, but I definitely didn't do like a deep dive on it. I think this is kind of not answering a question, but kind of adding some context or some clarity or color
Right.
to it, right? I think Andy's found his unique voice.
Right. Okay.
And there's other people have really tried to emulate Andy, and it's pretty cool that he can just go, because he's very much like that in real life, of course, but also like, he can really turn up the intensity, like just like that, like flip of the switch, and he really just leans into that. So I can't say when things really took off, and I'm gonna dig into that because that's a great question.
Okay.
But I think why it has taken off so much and continues to grow more, like month over month increasing, is because just really narrowing down what is his voice, what does his audience like resonate with, and what you need to be careful of. And I think he's done a good job at like iterating on this, is what's good for the brand long term. And what do they want to, what is going to lead to the results they want, not just views. And that's what we're trying to create with Ellipsend, is like a lot of people, they look at like, this one got all the views, so this one must be the best. But sometimes like you look at people who are like growth operators or something, they have like 5,000 followers on Instagram and they're making like 150K a month because they're just, they really know what moves the needle. And I think that's what Andy's starting to do a lot better of, even so, like with his brand in the long term, what's actually going to continue converting and building up the organization.
Okay.
Because they're a very dynamic organization. There's a lot. It's not just Andy and his people. Like all of his people are sub accounts. That's the wrong way of saying it, but it all feeds together. It's an ecosystem.
Yes, it is an ecosystem for sure.
So they're building that ecosystem.
Okay. So, and that actually goes hand in hand with rule number one or takeaway number one of long term is what, like, they know what the brand wants to look like, what they're going to do to get there. We're not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But what the brand is, we're going to do what's best for it long term.
Yep.
And the people, the situations, circumstances will present themselves to keep moving forward in that way. So that's kind of cool. The other people that you work with, just out of curiosity, have you seen those trends, or is it the same answer for them as well? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'll say why my agency grew so quickly and how we were able to work with the top brands is we figured something out where everybody on social media, and I'd say as you're building your personal brand, or if you have an established personal brand, the number one mistake that I saw when I came into this space was, one client I had like selling Airbnb coaching. Comment Airbnb and I'll teach you how to do Airbnb.
okay,
And when you do that, you're going to get people that are going to comment Airbnb, of course. Might be a lot, might be a little.
yeah,
And they're going to come into your inbox. You have like DM automation set up with Ellipsend or whatever. And then they're either going to, one of two things are going to happen. One, they're going to buy your service or product or course or coaching. Two, they're not,
yeah,
which is more likely if you look at the conversion rates, right?
Right.
But the thing that's definitely going to happen no matter what is they are never going to comment Airbnb ever again because they know what's behind the curtain. They know what's going to happen. They're going to get sold to. And that interaction, why would they be incentivized to do that? And so the way the algorithm works is if you are somebody who comments on their post and then the next time they post, you don't comment on it because you know that what's going to happen, well, then now the algorithm's like, oh, I guess this is kind of bad content. And you can kind of train your audience, don't engage with my content. And so the biggest shift where we were able to just, grow so quickly and have just phenomenal results was don't try to sell from your content. And this is, I would say, the other bit of the personal brand is just give as much value as possible. Because if instead, like, Pace Morby we work with as well,
right,
we saw that like he had a creative real estate investing dictionary, like jargon, so like what does BRRRR mean or sub 2 and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And people would just comment, get the dictionary, here you go, amazing.
yeah,
And then now they're like, oh, cool, I commented. When I comment on Pace's stuff, when I see it, like Pace gives me actionable, and it can be fluff.
Yeah.
What I always tell people is like in the framework I created in like an onboarding, we'd be like, find stuff where you can help them go from point A to point B for free, because then that'll build up enough trust. So then they'll be willing to pay you to go from point B to point Z faster, more reliably, or with less effort. And so it's super simple framework of like increasing lead flow, getting like consistency, getting more eyeballs, building a long-term relationship with your audience, building authority. Like your sales calls, if that's what you're doing, is more likely to close because they're warmer.
Yeah.
So that was a shift we've seen every single time without fail, implementing, going from like, Pace was like 520 comments per post, and Pace has an incredible community. That's one of the best, not the best community of anybody I've ever worked with.
That's what I hear, man.
Yeah, because he cares. And that's why like this was so easy for them to adopt, because like they give value all the time, just using social media for that.
Yeah.
The issue is traditionally, and this is kind of what led to the agency, was it's very hard to track.
Yeah.
If you give value, does somebody end up being a customer? Where did they come from? And that's an issue I had with the agency, why I created Ellipsend.
Gotcha.
Because it was that pain point. I guess I should have said that earlier, right?
No, but it makes sense, dude. Genius.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we saw like comments were like 5 to 20, and he's phenomenal content, good following. At one point, like months later, we're doing a challenge with him, like 1,800 comments on a post. Did very, very well. I won't get into specific numbers, but that was phenomenal. And it's like, it doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
And those leads are warmer.
Right.
And they're more likely to continue to come back, because that's the thing, is if they come in and, hey, awesome, here you go. By the way, where are you currently at in your real estate or your sales or your Airbnb or your e-com or whatever?
Yeah.
How can I help you? And then guide them. And sales, like you're saying, is being of service.
Yeah.
Like specifically the DM automation, what we always use the framework, and this is some free sauce that we would build the agency, that you give them the free thing. And you don't chatbot it away like I used to. But from there, you just ask a positioning question. Like, let me know if that's helpful for you. By the way, how long you been in sales? What's your current da-da-da-da, which then pass it off to a human. And then they've already opened up, and then cool, you ask them questions. And if at the end of qualifying, building rapport, it makes sense that you can help them, then you can say, hey, would it be helpful if we were to hop on a call? And it seems like you have a lot of options. We can kind of go over and see if this would be a good fit.
Yeah.
And if they say no, that's okay, because what we saw, and this was the biggest light bulb moment, is the same people would come in 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then there, maybe it's, as Dean called it, and I love it, it's ripening the green fruit. It just takes time,
There you go. That's a great analogy.
It was. He's a smart man.
Yeah. Way to go. Dude, that actually makes a ton of sense. The funny thing is I was having a conversation with somebody last night who is pretty deep into Pace's community, and Pace had kind of broken down what they were doing with social media and how it was working. And he, like, almost verbatim of what you were saying is, he's like, dude, I just give everybody everything. And then I don't like try to sell them anything, and I just give it to them. And then somehow they just, like, the community just keeps growing.
Yep.
So that's awesome.
I mean, it's build. Hormozy says it, I think, right? Like, give the information and sell the implementation. And that's actually what I did with that was my business model. We got up to, with the agency, like $50K a month. Never spent a dollar on it. Any of my businesses have never been. It's all been through referrals and whatnot. And
that's awesome.
That's
powerful.
Thank
dude.
you.
That means you're a good egg.
It was.
You deliver on what you
that.
say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Which is powerful, dude.
Thank you.
That's not very common. Good job.
It's I think I suck at paid ads, so that's why I just and it might be because I don't know, chicken or the egg. Like, do I suck because I never did it, or did I never do it because I suck at it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was like, when I was working with the other platform and I had my agency, and people would want to help, and our rate was pretty expensive because we got phenomenal. Like, our offer was, we will 2x the amount of bookings you're getting every day in 48 hours guaranteed, and we were able to do that because we would always 4x. We never had a client get less than a 4x, and so. We charged a lot for it because it was a lot of work, of course. Yeah. And I only had one employee, and we were running this agency. And so people would want to help, and I love helping people. I'm also a people pleaser to a fault. So I would help them, but then I found that, like, at scale, that really didn't happen. That didn't work. So I had a community. I was the first, like, community on school doing this, and doing specifically for this niche. Yeah. And I found that, like, I would help, and it's literally it's Hormozy principle of you help people go, what he did with acquisition.com or what he was doing. Yeah. Like, you're probably not in a position where I could invest in your company right now, but I'm going to give all my stuff for free. You'll learn from it. Then you build enough trust that then it's like, hey, you would want acquisition.com to acquire, invest in your company. And now they've fostered it. So there were times where I'd help people get started with DM automation for free, just to help them and whatever. And they would always refer their friends because I was that guy to them. Yeah. Or they'd be like, hey, we actually got this, and now I think we can afford to pay to scale it to the next level.
Wild.
So it's the same. That's what Pace and them do. Is like, they have so much value to give, and they have the right mindset. Their team's really, really smart. Yeah. And just good eggs, Yeah.
So do you, okay. So we can maybe edit some of these questions, because now I'm going to pivot to, like, personal questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, like, the whole goal behind Sell Anything is to create a community and to be able to add value. The biggest idea behind it, man, is I want to put the man back in salesman. And what I mean by that is, and you alluded to it with your girlfriend, like men are 4-dimensional, but like somehow we get trapped in this 1-dimensional idea of I got to make money, that's the only thing I got to do. Well, that's a problem, dude, because then your kids go neglected, your wife goes neglected, you end up being fat. Like there's a problem there. And then and the weirdest thing about it all is then you get all this money, and then like you forget God, and that's like the other dimension, right? So it's like I can buy whatever I want, so why would I need to rely on God? Like it's just this weird thing that I've seen happen over and over and over again with salespeople of they're so reliant on God because they're so lost. Then they get into sales and they start making a ton of money.
They overcorrect.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they make a ton of money and they forget God. And then as soon as they forget God, then they like start doing things that like maybe they shouldn't, and they get addicted to something. Or they start sedating themselves with stuff. And then when that sedation's there, then they become numb to things. And then all of a sudden, as they're numb to things, then they start like being unfaithful to their spouse. And then all of a sudden they're
just searching elsewhere is really what it ends up being.
Dude, is what it comes down to being.
For the restlessness inside, yeah.
Yeah, so you get it, yeah. Yep. And I've seen it happen over and over again. And so the whole goal of Sell Anything is to course correct that before it goes so deep that you're like, now we got some bunch of consequences we got to deal with.
Yeah.
Let's just wake up and say, okay, I'm going to keep God in the equation. I'm going to keep being diligent with my fitness. I'm going to keep being diligent and investing in my family and my kids. And I'm going to scale and grow my business because it gives me the freedom to do those other 3 areas of my life, to be a present father, to be engaged as a husband, to stay in shape so that we can go do fun things as a family. Like, but my money's got to be there so I can pay for all of it. And so the idea behind it is just creating these 4-dimensional men of like, let's just go win, dude. Yep. But that's going to take a community. And so I'm curious, how do you build that community for free? Because I've been around the self-development stuff for so long that I've never done anything because I hate being sold stuff. Yeah. Just like what you were saying is like, dude, don't sell me your crap. Like I just want to get better. And then I feel like as soon as I get a little bit vulnerable and comment Airbnb, you're going to try to sell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't want that. I want, so what would you do? Help me build my community. Yeah.
I think really nailing down the path. So one of my good friends and one of the first customers on our platform, Eugene, he's ADHD founder on Instagram. He grew like 0 to 1 million followers in like 90 days or 6 months. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, he crushed. He's creator through and through, and now he's been like, okay, I don't want to rely on brand deals. He wants to help with mental health, and I've been amazed because again, I take medicine for ADHD, and I've stayed with him on multiple occasions.
I was diagnosed with it when I was little.
Really?
I took Ritalin.
And you don't take anything now?
No.
Interesting.
I like when my parents would give it to me, I'd just throw it in the couch.
Interesting.
I'm like, I'm not taking it. Like
in the couch?
Yeah, I go like put it in the couch cushions.
Oh man. Yeah, I Concerta's been life-changing for me.
Okay.
It's the first thing I took, and I've tried different dosages, and it's like, it's been good. It's been good. But I commend you for being off the pill.
Well, I don't know any different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I refused to take it when I was little, but I do take a ton of caffeine, which I hear is like a
probably
equalizer.
Like, same quadrant, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like with Eugene, staying with him, like he was able to grow to, that many followers, 1 million plus. He wasn't taking medicine because it stifled his creativity. But he was able to stay driven and and so he has this kind of framework for how he did that. And now he wants to do this challenge. So we helped him with his first challenge and went very well. And he's doing challenges consistently through our platform now. And ideally, with Eugene, I'm helping him kind of reorient his strategy of, because he posts like very relatable ADHD humor, like ADHD goes to the beach and this, that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he has, like I said, we did a first challenge and I stayed on his couch for 10 days so I could just watch him use the platform and understand how it's being used.
Yeah.
And the focus he had without taking medicine, he had his morning routine, he has his checklist, he has this. I was like, dude, your meditation playlist, explain why it's valuable, why it's good, call it playlist, DM it to you. Yeah. And that's what we're relaunching literally today. I have a call with him today. The free assets of how they can achieve his pillars, you know what I'm saying? Or achieve his framework. Yeah. So if you have a checklist, if you have a playlist, if you have a whatever, it literally could be a YouTube playlist of your favorite content, motivational videos or whatever it might be,
I almost think it's inevitable that I'm going to have to like build my own brand and be like, okay, cool, do this, and I'll DM you what, like the pit to peak framework of how we solicit a sales call. And it's completely free. And you guys can use it. And then, or I could send them a video explaining it. Like, what would I send them?
Yeah, I mean, if it was the framework, it could be a PDF.
Yeah.
I always say like I call it like a free value asset, and that's the phrase that I coined, and I think it's not the right one, but that's what I call it. And it needs to be something that's bite-sized.
Yeah.
That they'll use consistently and think of.
Okay.
And that has a clear like benefit.
So Jeremy does his black book,
but that one's paid, and he does that, and that works. What Jeremy does, and it's great, is you want to learn, and Jeremy does phenomenal. I've really enjoyed working with their team.
Yeah.
And
we've literally been texting all morning.
Really?
Well,
they're a cool organization. Their team, Sean's a new president. He's a good guy. He actually comes from Andy's camp, but very, very driven, very, very smart guy. But yeah, with them, it's been the content. Hey, if you want to, like, how to overcome the spouse objection, come at wife. And what it is like, I maybe don't have that objection very much as a salesperson.
Yeah.
But if he does have, like, how to about tonality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, that's the video that I was like, dude, if I could just figure out how to be, maybe it is wife objection, maybe it's tonality, maybe it's whatever it is. That is the missing link,
Yeah.
And then it's like, I do that. I do a sales call. I use that script, the tonality, whatever it is. It works. And I'm like, amazing.
Yeah.
And so like one thing I've even told people is like, if you have a course or a framework, a 12-part framework, give them part 1, part 7, part 3, part 6 once a week. And then people are like, because you could get a PhD, not officially, but like from all the information on YouTube, but the act of collecting information and putting it in a digestible and actionable way, that's where the value lies. So people will be willing to pay for a course that they got half of for free already, just so they can get it immediately, and it's a little bit more, streamlined and more easy to follow too. So it has to be something actionable. I've literally had like one guy did e-com, and it was a Google Doc of the must-have Shopify apps.
Yeah.
And that one brought so much revenue and leads and everything. It was just people like, oh, this is something that helps me right now. I can do as an inverse. What I posted on my page was a framework of how I grew my agency from like I think it was 6K to 50K monthly revenue in just 3 months. And it was like it was our client success framework.
Okay.
And like I went hard on that Notion doc and everything.
Yeah.
And I realized afterwards, I'm like, I mean, the people that use this are really, I should just create a really solid asset, because I paid a lot of money. I actually paid an agency to help me build that out for my business.
Yeah.
But I'm like, are people actually going to do it?
Yeah.
And because if they get something and they're like, this is too complicated, well, then they're going to think, well, the paid stuff must be too complicated too. You know what I'm saying? It has to be, it can't be fluff. It has to be effective. It needs to be bite-sized, actionable, and memorable too.
Okay.
Like
and that makes a ton of sense, because even Pace's guy I was talking to last night, he was on the podcast.
Who is it?
Scott Kenji. Do you know Scott?
No, I know a different Scott.
Scott Garcia. I guess Scott Kenji Garcia is his handle, but he was one of my door-to-door guys like 10 years ago. And then he got into Pace's world. And so anybody who knocks doors in Pace's world, Scott trains them. And he was like telling me all about it last night of what like Pace was talking about. He's like, I give everybody everything for free because I know they're not going to do anything with it. Like they won't do anything. But then what we'll do is we'll bring them to a 3-day event, and they'll pay for that because all of the free stuff has been so like, oh, that's
they know
awesome.
It's there.
Yeah.
They know that, like, even Eugene's thing I did, the low ticket, I didn't participate, but I'm still in the group chat, and I'm seeing everybody's success and whatnot. And I'm like, I know that it would have been good, and I'm the problem. I need more, I baby hands and one-on-one, so I would need to pay for it,
Yeah.
So it's the same with Pace. Everybody knows that Pace's stuff is so helpful.
So from my element, because I don't want to compete against Jeremy, I don't want to compete against Andy or Grant or any, like, I don't want to be the next sales trainer. I literally want to help men be who they're meant to be.
Yeah.
Like I want
find the balance in the proper way and
100%.
Without neglecting relationships or their 100%.
Yeah. Like the idea of whole and swole, dude. You're the whole dude. You're the whole package, right? And so would it be like, hey, here's my framework for macros, or here's my framework for how this works.
Yep.
Here's what I do every day so that one of my kids knows that I'm thinking about them, or here's what Like that kind of a framework?
Straight up. Yeah. And then what I've found, especially with people that are kind of starting out on the personal brands a little earlier on is, and what I'm doing on mine is give the free thing, ask positioning question. Let me know your feedback on that. Also, like, what other stuff would you like to see? Is there anything else I can share with you that would be helpful? And then it's like, they'll tell you like, dude, I already know macros. I was hoping this could go a little bit deeper. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, okay, cool. Well, here you go. You know, like make it easy and actual and valuable. Like, don't make it like this is what a calorie is. I mean, I guess some people would probably benefit from that, to be honest. But like, you know, like a dumb example would be like, I know one fitness creator did like fast food. If you're going to fast food, the restaurant's like the healthy version, the healthy items you can get at fast food with their macros and whatnot. Yeah. Like, imagine what I say. Like, for this is the most effective way is something that like. I was on a call with one of my friends, and he asked me like about some terms. What does Ellipsend do this? And I was like, dude, I have no idea what that means. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, seriously, you don't know? You should know. Then he explained it to me. Yeah. The next day, I'm on a call, and it was like with a client, and they were like, oh yeah, is this gonna be this, or does Ellipsend do this or this? And it was like the terms, and I was like, oh yeah, we do that. And I was like, thank God. And it's like if you can have a sales script for Jeremy, like taped to your monitor that someone when they're on is like they can see, or like for Eugene, I'm like, what is your morning routine? You have the water, you have the meditation, you have the sunlight, you have the no phone. Have like little water icon, sunlight, on a calendar that they can just cross off each of the days. Yeah, it's like so basic, but that helps people. It helps a lot because you know the video, the content talks about the importance of and itself needs to be able to go viral and stand on its own. And then you give them like, if you want to take action from this. Here you go, you know? So, I think exactly like making sure you're spending time with kids. That was like the macros and stuff like that. Or like, you know, grocery shopping list. That's huge. Shopping list is huge. People don't know what to buy. They buy chicken breast and spinach, and then it all goes bad. And they eat at Taco Bell.
100%. Yep. Yeah. That's funny. That's a real thing.
Speaking from personal experience.
That's a real thing. Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah. They say there's a meme I saw, and it was like performing the weekly changing of the guard of the rotten spinach. So like you take the rotten spinach, you put fresh spinach, and the next week you do the same thing.
That's a real thing. Okay, I need to be a client of yours. We got to figure this out.
I'm happy it works out. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's the beautiful thing with Ellipsend is like you don't have to be a client, you just be a customer. And that's what I love so much now. Yeah. Is I don't have to. I used to have to like we had a very high rate, and it was like we're gonna run this for you, and it's a lot. Yeah. You know. Yeah. But now we made it, and I found like even we did many of these challenges and stuff. We made lots of money for the clients, and like the stuff we did was very very simple, like the funnels. And I don't want funnels. They were funnels. Yeah. But like. Seeing their marketing team and their process, like, dude, they'd be so much better at marketing than me, but just I'm good at the DM marketing. And so we built our platform. And it's like, dude, if you're good at marketing, you're gonna do good. And now I get to work with people without having to, of all sizes, not have to turn people away of whatever, like being very budget conscious, you know, and invest in every one of our customers. It's been so rewarding.
Huge.
So, I'm happy.
And liberating for you.
Yes. Yeah, because again, I'm a people pleaser at heart, man. I was lighting myself on fire to keep other people warm. You know, like
that is a good analogy. I've never heard of that, dude. Man, I like that.
That's my thing. It was specifically
that's number 3. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't. I mean, that is big. That is big. It's you gotta be like of service, but also know the balance. And again, I'd say you learn to sniff that out your radar over time. Where like in the beginning, I used to I got taken advantage of a lot. Yeah. And it's a progressive thing. But like what happened with me specifically, and I think relevant to that was there was somebody who had wanted to maybe be a client. Dude was making like 6 figures a month. Okay. And I helped him out for free to get his stuff set up when I had the agency. Yeah. And he just always wanted help. And I was like, that's fine, dude. I'll just help you. Like, it's not a good, I'm not going to force you. Like, I'm good at this, and because I happen to be good at this, there's no public, like, you can't learn how to do this. It's unless I had my ecom brand, so I learned through like failure. Yeah. And then I helped him on like a Saturday. Yeah. And he was like, okay, cool. And then like Sunday, because he was in Europe at like 2 a.m., he texts me like, hey, I need help again. And then at like 7 a.m., I got another text like, hey, why aren't you answering me? I need your help. I was like, bro, like, come on. Yeah. So that was for me actually the turning point where I realized like I need to have like a community to be able to, because if I help this one person, then it's like a video, and I like literally it was a disclaimer like, if I'm going to help you, we're going to hop on a call, it's going to be recorded and be in the community that everybody can see it, because then it's able to help everybody.
Smart, dude.
But yeah, that was a little bit of learning not to light myself on fire to keep other people warm. Like you can still be of service without crushing yourself. And your
Right.
focus should always be on service, not to extract value, but to give it, I think I
Gabe,
totally lost
so
the thread
much
of the
wisdom
question.
coming out your mouth, dude.
I lost the thread. Where were we starting with this?
Well, you keep just saying nuggets of wisdom, so I got lost myself. You're like,
Thanks, man.
you don't extract value, give it. That's a good one too, man. That's a really good one. So community. You built the community. That's where
So the community, yeah. So
Yeah.
finding what Eugene has done so phenomenally well is he has his framework of what worked for him, and getting that to a Canva deck, a course, and like whatever, and then having some sort of curriculum or something in a community that you can align on, that you're going to meet every week on. And that's the thing where people can share their struggles and their successes and stuff like that. And the shared successes and shared struggles is what creates bonds. And that's where it'll create the community where you can see the growth. And so that's as far as starting for free. And then it's like the right people will realize that, like, hey, your time is finite,
Yeah.
And so for Eugene, for example, he does the free challenge, sometimes like a small payment on the challenge. And then it's like, but if you want, and this is a great example, I paid for like the low ticket, and I did not stick with the curriculum because I'm a very busy person. I need a little bit more hand holding, because of it's a little more nuanced. And I'm like, I would pay, so that I could get there faster, more reliably,
Makes
or with
sense.
less effort. And that's where you then transition a free into a paid, or a low ticket into a higher ticket.
Okay.
You just, you yourself as the commodity, eventually you build out, whether it's coaching or automations or teams to then kind of group coaching. And then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, obviously Tony Robbins he does have his like one-on-one, but he's not.
I'm curious what he charges for that. Probably $1 million?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Like I know, like he definitely has like one-on-one. Actually, I have no idea about one-on-one. That's I know it's like Mastermind. One of them is like up there, like $80K or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, well worth it.
Yeah.
People.
100%.
I was talking to somebody recently about Hormozzi's. He has one that's like $50K.
Yeah.
And she was like, "That's ridiculous. There's no way." And it's like,
Shortcut. Pay it.
Outside of the info industry, it's such a unique thing because it's like, yeah, I'll pay $50K to hang out with this dude who will literally just like press a button to solve this or help me press that button.
Yeah.
And I think I've never encountered that elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
And that software is harder than info in that way. With an agency, it was like, I'm going to 2x your bookings. How much will that make you? Cool, let's sign. With software, it's like there's market comparables. There's so many more dynamics to it, which has been a big learning experience.
That is interesting.
Yeah. It's long, large, tall. I don't know, learning curve. It's
Long, large, tall, hairy.
Steep,
I don't know.
steep learning
Hairy.
curve.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the word, hairy.
Long, large, tall. I like steep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wondering where I was going with that one. Yeah.
No, I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. Out of curiosity, so Ellipsend, what's the price points for the listener?
Dude, it's funny because we're actually, as I shared, it's very different than agency.
Yeah.
And it's very different, especially as you work in other different industries than info. Because I know people that would have a $50K info offer or whatever. Our agency offer was like $15K up front, $3,500 a month. And so right now we have a few different options. We have like a $99 kind of like starter, a $1,000, like that's where most of the clients would be on. And then we have like a $2,000 if you have multiple accounts, agencies. Not going to be like that a month from now.
Yeah.
We're actually focusing a little bit more on agencies because I built it for agencies. And I think agencies are I've talked to some really, really seasoned professionals in the marketing and tech and so, investment like space. And they see the same, that we should focus on that. But yeah, we're gonna work the pricing model. But yeah, it's
cool.
like, as low as $99 a month.
Cool. That's cool, man. I love it. That's super exciting. Okay, so last question. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have that you think would be a huge takeaway for somebody to take that next step in their life or to be a little bit more sold on themselves?
I've kind of gotten most things, but there is one thing. So the one thing I wish I would have said at some point for this, shoehorn this into the conversation, is something that's been really, really impactful for me in growing my life, at growing my businesses and my professional career and my personal career, is my network. Like I've realized only in doing what I'm doing now, like the conversations I've had with people that are like Fortune 500 company founders giving like worth billions of dollars, spending an hour on a call, giving me, this is how you should raise money. This is how you should do that.
Yeah.
And like large creators or whoever, and just the people that I've been so fortunate to connect with that are like so much more successful than me, so much better at sales and communication and everything than me.
Yeah.
And it's forced me to kind of perform an audit of like, how did this happen? Because it's like, it makes no sense.
How did we get here?
Yeah, it really, like, is this past couple months, it's been just really eye-opening. And, I've decided, like, I thought about it and I kind of boiled it down to a concept, and I'd say this is for young people.
Okay.
Is like, everyone knows, obviously, don't screw over anybody. Like, I've never screwed anyone over. There's times where you have a client or you have some experience where things don't go and you're like, oh man, but you do your absolute best to make it right. And you can only do what you can do and be okay with that, right? Mm-hmm. But in general, my mindset has been, whenever I meet a new person, what's always in my head, and I located this when I was at Funnel Hacking Live last month, that this was happening. I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
They're like, when I was meeting somebody and I was like, okay, who can I introduce them to? How can I help them? How can I add value?
Yeah.
Like, so right when I meet them, I'm like, oh, dude, you should connect with this person. This is going to help. What are you dealing with? What are you struggling with? What are you hoping for?
Yeah.
And then like that being the vaulting point of starting a relationship.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, so let me text you. I'm going to text you next week after this conference, and I'll connect you to that guy. And so the mindset of is if I've been able to just leapfrog through relationships, and not transactionally, like never transactionally, but even the way I connected to that, one of the Fortune 500 founders, the one that stayed on for like an hour, was I was at a lunch.
Yeah.
And there was a woman next to me, and she was super nice. And she was just a really bright person. And we were talking, and then she's like, oh, I'm doing e-com, and I did e-com for a while. And I'm like, oh, let me help. Like, in my head, to the point of being overbearing. I've had to dial it back. Yeah. I literally had a friend be like, dude, you want to help them more than they want to be helped. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. So you got to learn that.
Yeah.
But like just trying to, how I can help her and stuff and connect her to people and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And come to find out that she's incredibly successful herself. And, so is her husband. And like, they've been really helpful for me now. And it's like, it wasn't my intention, but like, that's how I've gotten in all these relationships. And I've gotten into these rooms and connected with every single client, whether it's Andy or Dean or Pace or Jeremy or whoever it is, came through friends of mine, relationships. That's it.
That's huge, dude. That's powerful. So relationships, networks are massive.
Giving value. That's the thing. If you just focus on whether it's social media, your personal brand, if you're building your relationships, and even in your software business or founder business, like whatever you do, become a connector. If you become a connector, that's the quickest way to become connected. Because people are like, dude, thank you so much. And whether it pans out or not, like they appreciate it. Right. And they're willing to, it's also like there's a bit of reciprocity.
Right.
Where if you have a service or client or whatever, I refer to you, you're going to be like, okay, who can I refer to Gabe?
Yeah.
And don't have that in your mind. Like that shouldn't be the reason you do it. Yeah. But just know that it's going to be a byproduct. It's always going to come back.
Dude, that's sales 101, man.
Yep.
Like I just need to find I need to understand what your pain point is. How can I help you? Who can I connect you with? What pit are you in? Like where, like you're stuck. And if I can help paint the path to the peak you're trying to get to, like I'll do it. Like but I can't help you unless I know what you need. And the only way I can find out what you need is ask you questions and like just be a good human.
Discovery.
Like, how can I help you, man? Like that's really good, dude. And so that's the fact that you have. Because a lot of people, especially now in the day of masterminds and in info products, a lot of people will buy themselves into rooms. But it sounds like you may have done some of that, but you also just, your genuine energy towards helping people has been the energy exchange you've given, not necessarily money, but like, I want to help, let me help. And that is like bought you into the room, is that genuine, authentic, I'm here to, if I can add value, I will. And that's opened a lot of doors for you.
It has, and it's funny you say that, because like literally, it's specifically a mastermind that was in like, was it Cabo, Mexico or something 2 years ago, $80,000 like program, and you get to go to these like, I'm not going to say the specific one, but you get to go to like the masterminds, right? Yeah. And there's a good reason I'm not saying the specific one, but I had a client that I worked with that was like, hey, I live in Europe, I'm not going to be able to go. do you want to go in my stead? And like, hey, if you get any clients, just give me like affiliate. It's like, cool, you know?
Yeah.
And I went, and I'm in this room of like, and they do this thing where they sit you at tables based on your income level.
Yeah.
And it's like the income level of the business that I was with. And I'm just kind of there, you know? Dude's making like $600K a month. And I'm like, and it was like everybody there tries to solve each other's problems, you know? And it's like people who are in your kind of your tier are everybody masterminds together.
Yeah.
And I'd say I gave some productive stuff, but actually it did open some doors because that's where I came to the conclusion that I need to build my own platform because I was talking with everything I'd been doing was through DMs and everything they were talking about was ads to VSL to basic like info, whatever.
The old school way of marketing online.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it works. And I asked the founder of the company, I cornered him and was like, hey, I'm just curious, like, why are you guys not doing DMs? And he said, well, you know, it's more personal, it's organic, it's free, it's scalable, whatever. And he was like, it's not scalable. You can't track DMs. You can't track organic. And if you can't track it, you can't scale it. And I was like, oh, you can scale it a bit. And he's like, really, how many clients do you have doing 7 figures in the DMs consistently every month? And I was like, well, I have one that's doing like 800K. And he's like, that's not 7 figures. There's a guy in there who's doing 4 million a month. And so I realized like, he's like, if you could track it, sure. If you could, you think you could scale it, but you can't do that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna build a platform that you can now track organic. So that getting into the room exactly is I didn't pay for it.
But
fortunate.
You added value to somebody, and that was your payment. And it wasn't like you said. That wasn't my intention. But the reciprocity was, I'm gonna add value, and now I'm in this room, and then a concept or an idea was born, and here we are, full circle.
Yep,
powerful, dude.
I was very fortunate. It was a good trip. It was a fun trip. It was a nice hotel too.
I love it.
Yeah.
That is cool. Okay. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. That was fun.
Thank you. This was great. This was I'm new in the podcast circuit. So hopefully this is a very powerful episode years from now. I feel confident that it will be.
I agree.
People watch this and be like, man, he has improved. But you've made it really easy. So that's been helpful.
I bet you it will be a powerful episode now. I bet you there will be some nuggets out of it that people are like, I hadn't considered that, and that makes sense. So I like it.
If anybody feels that way who's listening to this, it'd be great. I'd love to hear feedback on what people like to hear.
Slide into his DMs.
Yeah, exactly. We got my main page, and I'm actually starting a second page, which is literally to rebuild. I haven't decided. I might actually focus on the main page, which is, you know, like 300,000 or something followers. But those people follow me as a creator. And I was like, let's start a whole personal brand. But then I'm realizing, one of my friends said a couple days ago, like, that's your story, man. Creator turned founder. Why are you doing a new Instagram? So we'll see. So follow one or both of the pages.
I like it.
DM me on either.
I like it.